Today's topic is strategy, specifically during the Charleston and building towards a section. We cover more of this in detail in our book, A Visual Companion Guide for American Mah Jongg, but we wanted to give some guides and some information in this video. Let's start with 1, know the card. This is something that all teachers agree is the most important thing besides obviously knowing how to play, but knowing the card. You do not need to memorize it, but you should definitely be familiar with the hands, the sections, and understand how the sections work. In our book, our visual companion guide, as well as on social media, we talk about hands being either fixed or flexible. And we have a great graphic that goes through and explains it. But basically, the header gives clues. If it's 2468 or 369, it's got to be those numbers. If it's any like numbers, then you have more flexibility. The other most important thing is understand what those parentheses mean. We get so many emails from people saying, I thought I had a hand and it wasn't a hand, or this person explained it this way. Parentheses either limit, qualify, explain. They're very important. Number 2, follow those tiles. For each game, the tiles kind of talk to you and let them lead you towards a section. So while you're getting all these tiles together, do not necessarily aim for a hand, but build towards a section on the card. And what's really important is arrange your tiles in different ways. You might see something different if you're arranging by suit, by like number, by ascending, by even, by odd. Something different might come to mind. And just as a kind of tangent on this, if you play connections for the New York Times game, when you first look at those clues, it's a great hint to shuffle, 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 because they kind of throw a little curveball and they put 5 things that go together and it kind of throws you off. But if you shuffle them, that little curveball is not in the same order. So just like on connections, shuffle those tiles. Number 3, don't be discouraged by your starting tiles. If you do 2 full Charlestons and the courtesy, you're going to get 21 new tiles. Now, in our visual companion guide, we fleshed this out with much more detail, but we didn't want to make this video too long. So stay tuned to our calendar on Facebook and on Modern Mahjong. We will be posting upcoming events and Zooms and strategy sessions. So stay tuned for registration for those. Next up, don't focus too much on building a specific hand. So if you know that you have a lot of evens, while you're doing the Charleston, don't really worry as much if it's bam or crack or dot. Of course, if you have to discard one of them, then look. But if you're building towards a specific section, it's really more helpful necessarily than building a hand. Look to see what you have that works together. Pairs sometimes really work together, but don't be misled by a pair or 2 pairs that don't go together. So the addition section and sometimes the consecutive run might put numbers that aren't ordinarily in the same hand, like a 4 and a 7. But on some years, if you have a pair of 4s and a pair of 7s, if that consecutive run doesn't stretch that much, or if you don't have an addition hand that puts those together, don't be misled and don't keep both of those pairs when you could be getting rid of them and getting valuable tiles. On the other hand, if you don't break that up early, save a pair, and this is kind of tricky, but if you pass it to the player that is your second left, hopefully they'll discard it and use a joker, and you'll be able to do a joker exchange, kind of like an early bait and switch. Next thing is look to see if you have consecutive numbers in one or more suits, and check that card to see if the consecutive numbers that you're looking at is in one or more suits. Sort by evens, odds, 3, 6, 9. Now, this isn't a specific hand on the card or section, but look if you have a lot of low tiles, a lot of high tiles. Wins and dragons. This is either some players' favorite section, or they avoid it every time. Think of the fact that you are not sticking your heels into a hand or a section when you're playing the Charleston. If you have 1 or 2 wins and you hold on to them, but then other people are passing tiles and you realize, wait a second, all these tiles are being passed, it's not too late to change. You could change as you rearrange. So don't be so headstrong that this is the hand I'm going for during the Charleston, or this is the section. Pay attention to what's coming around and you might switch. Next up, don't forget those years hand. Especially this year, since they're even, you have 2s and 4s. Those are easy swaps to 2, 4, 6, 8. And speaking of swaps, if you don't have issues with picking a hand, but you have more trouble of switching your hands later on, we invite you to check out the PDF on our website, modernmahjong.com. It's available for purchase. We went through the 2024 card for you and have great suggestions on what hands to switch to while you're playing if either it's not coming in or tiles you need are discarded or in exposures. Finally, look at those addition hands. The multiplication addition, a lot of times those are overlooked. If you have numbers that don't normally work together, those addition hands might be helpful. And think of overlapping tiles that work in more than one hand or more than one section. More importantly than building just specifically, or not even more importantly, but what's very important, each time you get tiles, organize them. So this helps in two ways. We talk a lot in a lot of our videos about what tells you're giving to other players. If somebody passes you a 1, a 5, and a 9, let's say that's all they had to pass, and you look at it and you don't even put it in your hand and you just pass it along, well, they're assuming a lot about that. They see your reaction, they see you didn't take any of those tiles. So put it in your hand, reorganize based on where those would fit. It's going to help in two ways. You're not giving a tell, and you might see something that you didn't see before. Now, this comes with time, but try to observe and remember. Try to remember what you pass to other players, what's being passed, what's not being passed. As a new player, it's very overwhelming. You're really focusing on your hand and playing offensively. But as you build your skills, try to start remembering maybe just your pass for the first and second left, or try not to pass the same player's 6 tiles that work together there. As you increase your skill and strategy, you could try to expand this even more to the rest of the Charleston. You might notice, wait a second, no wins are passed. Somebody's probably collecting them. Or how are other people reacting to your pass? Are they racking them like we just talked about? Are they smiling? Are they looking frustrated? Do they say, oh, I just went the wrong way? When you hand them all evens, then you know that now they're going for odds and, unless they're bluffing. These are all clues to tiles on players' rack. Now, this is something that we learned from Scrabble, and what remains on your rack is just as important as what you pass. So if you could keep things that are valuable to other players, or if you could keep a pair that you can maybe do a joker exchange without upsetting what you're going for, the most important is building to your hand. Maybe keep that white dragon or that flower because you could maybe be either discard it early or use it for a joker exchange. Don't be attached, in the same note, to tiles just because they're pretty or valuable. So if you're playing with somebody who always does the 2024 section and you have soaps, you might want to not pass it to that person, but maybe do get rid of it. It's not helping you. You are building your section, your hand. If you have flowers, 1, 2, more, look at those hands. There's so many hands sprinkled on the card with flowers, and try to make use of them. Or if not, try to use them for joker exchanges. If you have jokers, of course, look for quints or hands that are just hands you can dump those jokers in. So it's really frustrating. I mean, we see players like when we're the better and you can't talk, but you're sitting behind somebody, if they're allowing it, if they're not bad, if they don't mind that you're sitting behind them, and they could have a plethora of jokers. And you're sitting there saying, oh my God, they're going to be stuck because all they need is a pair and that pair is in somebody else's hand. So if you have a lot of jokers, obviously, we don't discourage you for going for hard hands, but that might be a time to skip a hand that needs pairs. Next up, look outside your comfort zone. And what we mean by that is don't stick to the same hand every time. If you play with the same people, they're going to know what not to pass you. They're going to know from your exposures what you're doing. So start with singles and pairs and then move to other sections and aim for other hands. Stay tuned for more strategies. We discuss way more and in more detail in our visual companion guide for American Mah Jongg, and stay tuned for updates about events coming soon. If you want to learn how to play by National Mahjong League rules and you haven't learned yet, our on-demand series is online and available for you to watch at your convenience. It includes handouts and online quizzes, all geared for you to test your knowledge and learn how to play at your convenience. If you live in South Florida or if you live in Orlando, we are having 2 events coming up, one in September, one in October. Details and registration on modernmahjong.com. If you enjoy the stuff that we talk about here with our visual companion guide, we had great reviews. It's available on Amazon. It's available in both paperback and Kindle. And if you're thinking of learning canasta, check out Modern American Canasta, the complete guide. We are 2 women, 2 friends that have a small business. It's a curated collection of Mahjong and canasta gifts and accessories, and we would love for you to check out our website, share it with family and friends. Word of mouth is so important to us. Thanks so much for that. And if you like this video, we invite you to like, comment, save, and of course, share with family and friends. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day and a great game.